So we're talking about this buyer's journey in general, a little more B2B side. The buyer determines their need, and then they go researching solutions. And when they start doing that research, they start deciding which vendors they're going to evaluate. And then after they evaluate those vendors, the buyer creates a short list and then eventually makes a purchase. I have a lot of different ways to do that. And this is a crazy, crazy chart. I know there's a lot here, but I liked it. So it's not mine, but it kind of tells a good story of the buyer's journey optimization. So when you go into these, can you see these? Can you guys see the screen okay here? I can zoom in if you need me to. But I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but you can see like there's marketing with the buyer's journey, and then how sales reacts to that at the same time with selling objectives, because we just talked about research, engagement, consideration, evaluation, typical elements in a buyer's journey process. But then after they become a lead, then, the sales takes over and goes to the proposed qualification stage, proposal stage, and then customer agreement. So really there's journeys throughout. There's the marketing journey and the sales journey, and they all come together. And I always, push sales and marketing alignment. And you can see all these different activities that happen through the journey. We'll go into some detail on this, but brand awareness, lead gen, lead nurture, and then sales conversion. And then, tools throughout, CRMs, marketing automation, website optimization, of course, content through the journey, which we'll go through that in a few minutes as well. Website optimization, videos, case studies, and then, for the sales side, quotes and proposals and things like that. And then measuring that along the way. I mean, that's really, really a big picture. I don't want to get too much detail in there, but I'll discuss some of the highlights. Here's a simple version of the marketing side of things anyway, is, attracting interested prospects and promote content or offers that engage, educate, and excite your audience through the digital channels they use, then converting those visitors into contacts, then nurturing them and shift from interest to desire. When you think about that, we always talk about lead generation. Well, when people come to your website, they're not leads yet. They're just names. Somehow they got in. Well, if they're a mid-funnel lead, as we call them, they're downloading content. They're not ready to buy yet, typically. So that's why you need nurturing, because there is some interest. But, the whole cadence we'll talk about segues them into desire and action. What usually starts off when you do any kind of marketing optimization program is to recap who your customers are. Do a buyer's journey or buyer persona analysis, not just for the decision makers, but other influencers as well, because they all relate to different kinds of content. It's not just demographics, but it's also the pain points and how they seek out solutions. So you usually have to ask yourself, what kind of customer would get the value from my offering? Job titles, company sizes, all these kinds of elements, and tailor your marketing campaigns toward these personas. So yeah, I know this is an old Tommy James song, if anybody remembers 60s music, but I just posted it up there because Crystal Blue Persuasion is an old song, if anyone remembers that or not. But that's really, we talk about persuasion, and that's kind of like the key throughout the whole journey, is you're persuading throughout. The better you persuade, increase conversion rate. I mean, that's obvious, but persuasion comes in different ways, but every message you put out contributes to the persuasion of someone who's willing to pay more attention, engage with you, and eventually become a conversion. A conversion is really defined as an action that requires someone on a website or a landing page to give up their personal information because what you're providing is of value. So it starts off with like your website, and this is kind of generic, but the most important things here on a website, and we mentioned this a while back, but value proposition makes sense. Communicate your uniqueness. Everything on a website is not, oh, we do this. It's we do this for you. And why? It's the what's in it for me theme that'll engage prospects to go deeper when they understand in their language, why should they do business with you? And what's in it for me? Because remember, your goal here of any kind of website is at least get on the short list. And that's when they start talking to salespeople. Short list. Why should I buy from this company versus somebody else? It's kind of what we're talking about here. Why do prospects need you? Why do they need what you sell? Define that. And then after you define that, why do they need you? Why buy from you? Why? Oh, we give great service. That's not an answer. Everybody says that. You got to think, does he have unique services or opportunities? Pricing, maybe? Or is it additional services? Is it, when you're just networking, oh, we're the company that does blank. So it's not easy to think about. And sometimes, actually, to be honest, if you're in a lookalike company with a lot of other companies like yourself, sometimes it's not just how you're different, but sometimes it's how you communicate the sameness. And so you can think about that too. When you look at websites and landing pages, features are fine. It talks about, your key services, but it's really the benefits. We provide value proposition branding consultation, and the benefit is so your message stands out, which will generate more engaged prospects and leads to you. So see that I just use that as an example, but marrying that feature of what you do with the benefit of a prospect in their words, because they're bottom line focused. So, buyers make checklists when they evaluate vendors. Illustrate your value beyond price. Now, if you want to be the cheapest, that's fine, but nobody wants to do that. But you go through the qualifications of the team, and I see this a lot with websites. I like to know who I'm dealing with. Who are the people? Who's the leadership team? Industry experience. What have you been in my industry? Do you know it? Do you understand it? And communicate all your capabilities and not just services. Are there any other capabilities you guys do? We may have a special guarantee program, or maybe we have, free technical training. We have onboarding, whatever it is. You start building that narrative that explains why should they buy from you and to get on that short list. And everything we talk about with a website, of course, is, again, the conversion. All roads lead here. Everything we do. Request a quote is a bottom funnel lead. That means I'm interested in what you have. Or free consultation or free assessment, things like that. And then the purchase of your e-commerce. So we talk about lead generation in a little more detail here. As we supporting the marketing tactics, there's really 3 components of lead generation. You have the promotion, which is the offer, whether it's a guide or a free consultation, free demo, free trial of your software, things like that. And how to get that offer, a good call to action. That's really like the buttons, make sure it's clear on your landing pages where I'm supposed to fill out a form and what button to click to get it. And the landing page itself, containing all that information about the offer and the benefits, again, of why that offer should be given to a prospect. Because you're trying to make a deal. It's like Monty Hall. We have great stuff here that you need to help you solve a business problem. And in return, we can help you, but we like your email address, right? So it's, putting in those kinds of words is, how do I get that email address? Trust, proof, great value. What's in it for me? When we talk about media and advertising in the right channels and the messaging all work together, it's all about interesting. This is interesting. So I call this like attraction science. There's really 3 elements three things people do online, to see messaging. They'll see ads, on social media or websites, and align that with a benefit and offer. Because remember, if you're seeing an ad and you're not on the search engine yet, you're not actively looking for a solution. So advertising is all about trying to target the right people with the right message and the right offer, because you're kind of, it's like Facebook and LinkedIn, you're interrupting my social media time for a message that might attract me. And I admit, I've downloaded I'm a marketer, so I got all these tools out there, for the special deal, lifetime deal of $67. I bit. Why? Because I found it interesting and I found it unique. I found I could probably use it in my business. So I paid attention. I got off Facebook and bought the tool. So it's interruption marketing. But, if you're trying, it's solving a business problem that I had, and that's important. Email marketing, love it or hate it. It generates conversions if you do it the right way. I don't mind mass emails. Everybody's different, but it all depends what works for you. But subject lines is what piques my interest to open an email. Somebody sent me an email last week. Wasn't one of those quick question emails we all get, but or are you the right person, or I hope this email finds you well, but something more unique. It was like, are you tired? We have something that can help wake you up. Right? So I was interested in opening it up, right? Because it attracted my attention from all these emails we get. But it's okay to test those things, of course. We always do testing. And then, paid search, which is something I'm searching for something relevant to my need. So, but everything involved here is about, click, click, click. Then we talk about where I'm clicking to, right? Advertising on websites, on search engines, shopping engines, email newsletters with publications, social media, all these kinds of things, are all targeted various ways. But search engines are, depending on your product or service, can be expensive, but also they're reaching, people who are actively looking. Everything else is, we think you might be interested in this. Be a conversion for me. Really, that's what it is. And that's all the science and art of building a conversion process with message and offers and targeting that attracts people to say, you win, here's my email address, because what you're giving me is valuable. So I call this, if you heard the term demand generation, I just really call it, targeting audiences that are just not ready for search engines yet. They haven't decided that yet. They're like mid-funnel and top-funnel leads. They're prospects. So all that research you've done with buyer personas are all about learning about your clients' or prospects' problems in the marketplace and how you solve them. And that's what we're trying to communicate. Whether they're ready now or later, we don't know that. But there's something you generate that they can, again, worthy of personal information submission. It's demand generation. You're creating demand for a product or solution. So you do want an interesting message that solves pain points and test offers. Lead magnets are, of course, the most common type of messaging out there. Again, give me a great incentive. You got ebooks, webinars, they all work, depending on the time you want to build in on it, because you do got to build content. And there's, there are lots of low-cost tools out there, so I know them, so talk to me later. We try to, that's growth hacking again. But anyway, it's magnetic offers, irresistible offers that will attract people with an email address, because they're not ready to buy yet, but they're interested. They're intrigued by what you have to say. So what happens is once, again, this is an example chart, and there's plenty of software we have that does this, but you kind of build a buyer's journey cadence after you capture a name. We call it funnel marketing, funnel hacking, whatever you want to use, but different tools do it. Typical email programs or other tools like a Sales Loft or outreach, and there's plenty of them out there that automate these kinds of approaches where you send an email, then you decide to call them, then you might email them again with maybe another ebook or maybe a blog post, something of thought leadership that reminds people of what you do, because you are building trust through this as well. Build enough trust, but layer in some offers, because I always tell people, like, it's great to educate people, but you never know where they are, and they might be attracted to an offer. So it's okay to say, hey, we also do this. They'd like to plan a call, whatever it is. I mean, that's a strategy we can talk about, but I always want to take advantage of somebody when they're ready, because you never know if they may not even open the other emails. If they open one email in your set of 3 or 4, there's an opportunity there because they're interested in the subject. So again, everything's a strategy, really. If you're gonna, dial in more aggressive offers or promote more content, or a mix, depending on the business model. Does that make sense? Hopefully. So here's an example of an email addressing a pain point. Problem, solution, offer. Oh, there's that word hacks again. Productivity hacks to keep you calm under fire. And then they also mentioned the tone of it, whether it's a calming message or you want to create a sense of urgency and scare tactic. And these are all things that can be tested. But that's an example of a promoting a blog post even, and being, everything's about that problem solution mindset. Problem solution offer. Problem solution offer. Here's another chart. There's a few of them out here. I like this one too, because it kind of gives like another way to look at a funnel. And, you can see when people download content, I always use tofu, mofu, bofu. Top of the funnel, mid of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. They're learning. They're being persuaded. This is a sequence of content, email, nurturing. Now, if you're doing bottom funnel offers, like here's what we do and here's our solution, get a free trial. Well, that's a different kind of sequence. This is more about getting content, downloads, and webinar people into your funnel so that they become, through the buyer's journey, continue that education process so that they become a qualified lead, which is email 10. Learn more, talk to sales. So really, we're talking about educating throughout the journey. If you kind of break all these buyer's journey segments into 3, it's awareness, consideration, decision. And you can see, again, some of these charts here about what happens in a buyer's mindset as they go through that journey, with seeking educational content. They're searching for symptoms. They're not searching for solutions yet. How do I help solve my problem? Because I have a problem in my company. I'm not ready to buy a vendor yet. I just want to learn more about the solutions. And that's where content comes in more than anything. When you get in the consideration stage, like we mentioned before, they're exploring all the avenues, they're researching solutions, and they may be picking, their vendors. So it's a difference. You have symptoms to solutions, and then decision-making, case studies. And again, we mentioned that before, validating the vendors and building that short list. Here's another way to look at it through the content formats. Again, subject to change, but awareness stage, you see the e-guides, e-books, the white papers. Consideration, maybe more webcasts, podcasts, videos, solution papers, depending on where it is and where it is in the journey will determine the topics and the formats to choose. And then, of course, decision-making, comparison guides, case studies again, trials, things like that. Content is important throughout the whole journey. So we mentioned some of the key words. Again, I like this chart too. It just kind of gives you an idea of aligning and content mapping, the topics and the assets to the buying stage. Again, you think about it, even with search terms and ads, troubleshoot, resolve, risks, upgrade, improve, optimize. Then the consideration stage, I need a provider, a solution, a service, a supplier, a device, software. And then decision-making, compare, versus, pros and cons, reviews, things like that. So you get an idea of what happens as people get researching solutions through the journey. And of course, case studies are really important too. This research, majority of buyers, before they make a decision, testimonials and case studies are very important. And if they're not on your website, they need to be. It's validation, it's building trust, it's proof. So a few more sections here on this journey. I mean, the CRM as a B2B is really important because there's other places to, when these prospects come in, data-driven marketing, there's sometimes during even this pandemic period when there's a time to look at a CRM and look at those audiences and try to separate them by segments, whether they're high-value prospects, existing customers, reactivating old prospects, because there's really nothing to lose. Lookalikes, which is another scenario of using tools of the companies that have bought and then finding other companies that are similar to them. And there's, tools that do that. And win back customers, it could be like old clients who are not happy with their newer provider, so they might want to come back. So can't avoid those either. So each of these audiences gets its own, funnel with content and messaging that can attract each segment. So there's a little bit of science and art here. Let's go to conversion rate. That's like the third part, right? Because we talked about content and, we talk a lot about giving up information and how to optimize that. Really talk about the offers, and you mentioned this before, but, you think about the funnel again, top funnel, bottom funnel, and e-commerce is separate. The top funnel is download, register. Bottom funnel is get a quote, free trial. And e-commerce is dollars off, cross-sell, upsell. So it gets a strategy, right, of targeting people wherever they are in the journey with the right offer. And this is something you have to plan out. The call to action, again, we mentioned this before, make it clear, make it compelling. I can find it, get a quote, free trial. They should be on actually most of your web pages. Again, you never know when someone's ready to contact you. And it's more than just contact us, give them a reason to contact you. Get a free quote, free consultation, free assessment, something like that. Even the headlines have to be really compelling in your landing pages. These are like action words that can drive conversion. Hurry, exclusive deal. Now, buy now. I mean, it's marketing, but better to have it than not. And we talked about proof and trust. There's lots of things here, ways to increase conversion, chatbots, short web forms. Don't go more than 6 fields if you ask me. Exit overlays are those pop-ups that you get when you leave a website. Don't leave yet. We have something of value to give you. Increases conversions. They're not expensive to do. Remind people of your benefits. If you're e-commerce, you might have guarantees, trust badges, B2B, Better Business Bureau, any other associations that you're in, awards, affiliations, photos of your leaders. Again, I like to see people. You're a real company. You've got real people. Case studies and testimonials. The whole idea of conversion rate optimization is reduce risk and doubt and reassure prospects are getting the value when they submit their contact info. Your leads and sales depend on improving your online visitor to inquiry conversion rate. Make it easy. It's all about the 0 moment of truth. That 1 second moment where I'm going to click a button to submit. Everything has come together. I believe in your service. You provide great value. I've made the short list. I've got great trust, testimonials, case studies. I've done all my homework. I believe you can help me. Click. That's the 0 moment of truth. That's what it's all about. Quickly going through analytics, through the journey and measuring all that. There's plenty of ways to do that. I have my own calculator, but it's really just creating benchmarks and then doing tests when you improve the marketing optimization. These kinds of things are on the website. You can email me later. I can give you one. But really, you just kind of set benchmarks in gray of your current website visitors, your current conversion rates, and your for B2B, what your marketing qualified lead percentages, closing rates, average revenue per customer, cost of goods, and you have like a net revenue. And what's your average lifetime value? I always preach that too, is how, what's the average stay of a customer, and build that in as well. Because then when you add in your marketing costs and any management fees, you have a higher ROI typically when you include lifetime value. And that's how you make decisions. If you're not including lifetime value, you may make poor marketing decisions without building that in. So when you do all this, you could have a basic website with a small conversion rate, 100 visitors, 2% conversion rate and 2 leads. But if we optimize the website and your entire marketing optimization, and we end up testing more marketing, get more visitors, and your conversion rate goes up because we improved that, when I got 20 leads. So it's pretty significant. So we just spoke about the 0 moment of truth, and that's me. So now that's the presentation. So I'm going to stop sharing. Very high level. I didn't want to get too much detailed on anything. So I just wanted to go through just a general process of how buyers buy and things to consider in order to make these prospects into real leads. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of, it's really like being like a data scientist in a way, right? Or a conversion scientist is, we're always trying to test message, offer, landing pages. I mean, if you have enough, energy and enthusiasm to do tests, it's really important. But you need enough data to make, to create those winners, so to speak. If there's not enough data, it's hard to test. So it all depends on the scale you have.
And so you talked about cadence a number of times. Is that trial and error? I mean, there are some things that are known, but I'm guessing that in some ways this is trial and error. Right? Trying to figure out what the proper cadence of the mix is.
Yeah, it is. Every 7 days, 2 weeks. I think usually if you download content, then you want to stay top of mind. So you can push it a little more in the beginning, but if they're not, activating enough, then you can, slow it down a little bit. When you get involved with marketing automation and doing triggers and things like that, if somebody opens an email and clicks, theoretically, there might be some more interest there and you might move them to another cadence, right? It's not just more than one cadence. That's where the science comes in, right? Because you have these layers of emails going out based on the prospect's behavior. And then if somebody decides to do a free consultation, well, then they got to be put out of that nurture sequence and wait for sales to contact them. And they might, decide, to remove from the list altogether if they become, a qualified lead and ready for proposal. So it's really like every campaign and click almost needs to be tracked eventually to make sure that we're sending relevant messaging out throughout their buying phase. Yeah, but it is testing. I mean, you could say like 2 emails and a phone call. If they get a phone call, the salespeople should take them out of the list if they make a connection. If they can't get them on the phone, they keep them on the list, and then they might decide 2 weeks later, it's like, and then create like a task on their CRM to follow up again in 3 weeks, things like that. So you're right, though. It is kind of a, it's testing, but you also need to give it some time and then feel good about it, because you don't want to overwhelm people, but you also want to make sure you stay, top of mind, with compelling subject lines. And just remember, just because they get an email 3 days later, if 6% open, that means 94% did not. So that's another scenario, is depending on the program you use. Like if this segment did not open the email, we'll send them the same one with a different subject line. So there's a lot of orchestration there.
Okay, well, Jerry is trying to figure that out. Good presentation. I think. Are you typically using outside agencies when you're doing this? Are you doing it? I mean, there's plenty of tools. There's Canva. There's more that can be available to do what you need to do. But are you doing this with outside agencies? And are many companies doing this with inside sales? Or are they doing it externally because the lead generated nurturing those leads is not easy to do, and you need resources to do them. So is it internal sales typically that you're working with, or is it are there external agencies that are working on nurturing the leads to
No, I
take them
think it
up?
depends on the company, right? But I write a lot of emails myself. So, um, it's really, when I deal with clients and stuff, they there's plenty of tools out there for sure, because you need those tools. Whether it's like an active campaign or MailChimp or something more, there's a lot of email cadence tools out there right now. Replyify. I just saw a few other ones today, as a matter of fact. It's one thing as a tool, as anything as a strategy. But to answer your question, though, I think it's going to depend on. I try to make messaging into marketing messages, right? They can. I always focus on the. Thanks, Jerry. I always focus on the problem solution offer structure, and with a compelling subject line, and rotate them. So I think it depends on the company structure. I don't believe for the cadence part of it, it's typically a marketing tactic, but doesn't mean sales can't do it either in their own system. So I think it depends on the structure, but because marketing emails come from a marketing, email like Joe from Newspark or whatever, right? So they're used to that. It's marketing emails with offers and things like that, versus a typical salesperson sending it from their own email address. So it depends on how it's structured.
I've always felt the effectiveness as an umbrella campaign. An umbrella campaign actually gives you a better. You can do it product by product. You can do it by there's different ways to do it. But if you have an umbrella proposition, it's a lot better only because you can have a series of emails, one after another, whether it's a product or a new product or an existing product or services that can continuously, find a way to engage the end user. What is in an email campaign or a banner campaign conversion rates that you think are pretty good? That means, X number of people that clicked, or is that very, very industry?
I'm not sure if I heard you all the way, but it varies on your offer and um, and the quality of the list, of course. Whether it's a cold email or a nurtured email, like trade shows or ebooks and things like that. Again, they're all different sequences. So it was a. I'm not. I think Zoe can unmute. So typically, like display advertising and things like that, or like low click through rate, because it's what they are. It's very hard to convert there unless it's very targeted channel. Like LinkedIn, I get leads, and Facebook. But the email, if you can get like, if your goal is like, let's just say is like 10% open rate, but then you have a click rate, and then you have a conversion rate. So it does take some time. I'd be happy with a 2 or 3% conversion rate after the end of the day. But I think it's just going to vary on the offer. If it's a guide, you'll get it higher. If it's free trial, I may not be ready yet, So that's where the whole ongoing messaging and reminding people of problems and solutions, eventually they might become a free assessment or a free consultation. But they have to build the trust first.
No, I agree with you. I think effective digital strategy is always a question mark because people worry about the click-through rates or the conversion rates of an email. But the real measurement is, what is the sales that you're creating? Right? When you get into a senior management group, that's kind of what they are asking. Is like, what sales did you get out of this? And that's where nurturing becomes a big deal. Geo marketing becomes a big deal. But Channel partners is another one. I mean, channel partners has been more effective in things that I have done. I prefer channel partner engagement and distributor portals. Portals are always a good way to go because then you are asking people to sign up to get the literature and the information you need. That way you have this database for whatever it is that you would like to use. It just doesn't have to always be sales, but it could also be new products that you're trying to test in the marketplace. But it's interesting. Very good presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, you might be interested in this. This is a concept I just did here, and guys, can I share? Let me share my screen. I'll show you what it looks like. I did this for another client. It was kind of like a lead magnet plan, and we talk about cadence marketing, and you kind of start at the beginning here with your buyer persona, then you build, choose three prospect problems and solutions because we're creating a topic. Determine the topic of the lead magnet, choose the format. This is like high level. Make sure that some of the keywords are there for SEO. Prepare your asset. If it's a webinar, choose your platform. Then, write, I usually have the writers of the ebook. I give them a guide about information. Make pretend you're a prospect. Why would I need your book, right? And then I take it and then build a landing page out of it. And then, then we get it designed, build it in a web form, build in a thank you page for conversion, and then you start building your media plan, LinkedIn, Google, write cold emails, 2 to 3 different kinds of emails, building your nurture, write an email for your current database as well, and then deploy the cadences, and track them. And then, then here comes all the trigger events like lead routing. When someone becomes a lead, where do they go? To a salesperson, to a CRM. And then after that, are there follow-up cadences after they become a lead? You got to build that, the nurture cadences. I try to give the authors of these ebooks, I challenge them to come up with topics because I'm the marketing solution guy, not the not the company solution. So I said, you figure this out. You tell me some topics, then I'll rewrite them. With the problem solution CTA format, write them up, put them in a nurture sequence, track them, and then segue them into another nurture, which is a bottom funnel demo, trial, discovery call. And then, and again, route them to sales if need be. So that's a kind of a whole process of, lead magnet marketing, really. It's kind of in rough form, but you get an idea of all the things in play if you're going to do a content marketing program. It's names are one thing, it's what you do with them. That's what counts. So I wish Jerry had his mute issue. I don't know what's going on.
Well, I have a question for you. So running an email marketing program, when somebody responds, out of 100 responses, how many of those people actually checked you out before they responded?
That I wouldn't know. I don't know if there's any data on that. You mean like if they got an email, you mean going to your website?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, you're going to get probably a lot because you're going to get, if your email tracking program can track what they click, you'll be able to tell like who clicked on URLs versus, landing pages of offers, in your signature, for example. But that's the only thing I can tell you is if they're going to get that, they'll probably it's depending on how many links you have in your email. They'll probably a lot of people click on multiple links just to see what this is all about. Who are you and what the guide is. So I don't know if there's any like rhyme or reason on that though.
So does it make sense to put links in your email?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and track them. I mean, with Google Analytics. Not to have another conversation. Zoe knows how to do it. Is create like tracking links in your emails, so if you're having a number of marketing programs going, where they're coming from, whether it's email 1, email 2, that kind of thing.
Right.
Beacon is the premier executive networking organization serving the Mid-Atlantic region. To learn more, go to beaconforlife.org.